Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the first in a series of videos where I'll be showing you guys how to play Jett. In this particular video, I'll be going through how to train Jett, which of the maps are the best ones to train in, and the skills that you'll be using at different job advancements. In this particular video, I'll be focusing mostly on the training part and giving you guys ideas in which maps you can train on that I think are best. This isn't a definitive guide on how to train specifically, it's just my opinion on where I think Jett best trains. And you might see a lot of these maps in other training videos because Jett is just one of those classes that trains well in most maps. And on that note, let's get started. So let's have a quick look at the main skills in first job. You've only got two main attacking skills. You've got Blaster Barrage, which is kind of like a hurricane, and you've got Starline 1. Blaster Barrage isn't very good because you can't use it while attacking. If you could use this while attacking, then perhaps it would be viable, but the fact that you're kind of stuck on the floor while using it makes it not so good. It does have pretty okay range, so depending on which maps you go on, you can use this, but wouldn't be recommended. The main one we'll be using will be Starline 1, which is a small range, pretty small AoE attack, but it's pretty fast. You can use this while jumping as well, so you'll be able to mob okay with this. It isn't the greatest skill. So this is the map that I prefer to train in the early levels. The Golem Temple 3 in Hennessy. And because of Jett's mobility and splash jump, you can get around this map pretty easily just by jumping around and just using Starline 1. Not much to say here in the early levels, you just try to pick a compact map and then mob as best as you can with it. And we'll be using Starline 1 all the way until second job. Keep in mind you also have a booster at first job, so make sure you have this on. I like to stay in this map until about level 20 before moving on to other maps. From level 20 to level 30, I like to train here at Green Tree Trunk. It's an okay map in general. It has compact mobs and you can jump around and use Starline 1 here pretty nicely. And the fact that you can jump through all the platforms as well makes it really easy to move around and mob. So once we hit level 30, we'll be able to get some new skills, and these help a lot with Jett's mobbing. Gains access to 3 new damaging skills. You've got Starline 2, Stellar Impact, and Vortex Cross. To start off with the worst one, Stellar Impact. This one isn't really used for mobbing. It is a skill that applies a debuff to the mob and allows you to do an extra 25% final damage to them for 30 seconds. It's very useful for bossing, but not so much for mobbing because of its very long casting animation and also its 8-second cooldown. So unless you're using it to kill an elite boss, probably would not use this for training. The main mobbing skill, we have both Starline 2 and Vortex Cross. Starline 2 is a very fast mobbing skill that you can use while jumping, has very little end lag, and has better range than Starline 1, so it is quite nice. Then we also have Vortex Cross, which is a dash that you can use. It has a pretty low end lag, and you can also use it vertically as well. It will clip everything along the way, and if you're close to them on the floor, you'll also clip them on the floor as well when you're standing next to them. So these are your two main mobbing skills that you can use while moving around, and depending on which map can help you clear very efficiently. To start off, I always like to shout out Gold Beach for the level 30 to 60 area, just because I think that these theme dungeons, although may not be the fastest, are some of the easier content in the game, so no matter what point in the game that you are at, with how big your legion or how small your legion is, these theme dungeons are always going to be pretty consistent, and I like encouraging Gold Beach because on the off chance you decide not to main Jett, at least you have the Gold Beach teleport, which is kind of nice. I don't know how relevant it is going to be, but hey, you have the option. If you prefer to not do the theme dungeons and just grind on mobs, the most popular map for level 30 to 50 is this one, Shaded Dump Site. It's a pretty small, compact, and flat map, so you can get around this really easily, especially with Jett's mobility. You can use Starline 2 to mob across the map pretty easily. Very, very comfortable. And also you can use a Vortex Cross as well. If your character is strong enough, you can use this to mob, and it actually is very fast. You can use it on the floor, and you can use it to go up as well. If you do decide to train here, you would stay here to about level 50. From about level 50 to 60, you could stay in maps like this, Empyrean, which are the Wild Boar maps. You have a lot of different options here on the top left, and depending on what level you are and how strong you are, you can go your way up here. I'm just in the first one here, Wild Boar Land. Pretty popular training map as well because of the high mob count. And you can pretty much do the same thing. You can jump around using Starline 2, which is nice and easy. And then for these flat areas, you can also use Vortex Cross as well. To get up and around, you can use Vortex Cross to get up. And As I said earlier, you can actually clip them next to you. So you can see the Boar here is just like on the floor next to me. I can still hit them with Vortex Cross as well, which makes it really easy to train with this skill. If your character is particularly strong, you can come to military camp early. This is a level 62 area to train in, so if you're level about 55 and your character is pretty strong, you can train here. One of those very flat maps where you can just look left, look right and use Starline 2. Very easy to train in, and you have a portal at the bottom that shoots you back to the top. And you can stay here until level 60. So in third job we get a lot of new attacking skills. We actually get 5 of them. We've gotten Starline 3, which is the upgrade to Starline 2. We have Falling Stars, we've got Cosmic Upheaval, and we have Turret Deployment. So starting off with Starline 3, you see how it performs. It's kind of slow, but it's got pretty long range. So it's got longer range than Starline 2, but it is a lot slower. And you also can't use it while jumping. So for some maps you can actually use this because of its long range. So in a map like this one, it can actually be quite good. But sometimes you might just want to use Starline 2 anyway because of how fast it is and the fact that you can jump around using it. You can also hold down your arrow key to kind of dash with it like this. You have Falling Stars, which is a 8-second cooldown AoE skill. I don't particularly like this skill because it's an 8-second cooldown, but it's kind of nice. It does clear area, but again, it's got an 8-second cooldown, so perhaps not the best option for mobbing. We have Cosmic Upheaval, which has a 3-second cooldown that drags mobs. This thing actually has a pretty big AoE, so you can actually full map clear with this depending on how strong your character is. So this is not a bad mobbing skill at all. So you can definitely use this as part of your training. And lastly, we have Turret Deployment, which is one of the better skills that Jett has. It is a summon that attacks on both sides of it. And although it might not one-shot like my one is right now when you're training, it's still kind of nice to have that extra damage. It's also 100% uptime, so you can always keep up the turret somewhere on the map, and it'll help you clear very easily. But back to the training part of this guide. From level 60 to 70, I recommend Silent Swamp for the Drakes here. Very common training map, and Jett does very well here with Starline 3. You can also use Starline 2 if you prefer to be able to jump around, but on a map like this, I think that Starline 3 performs fine. Very easily just look left, look right on each of the platforms and very easily clear it. From level 70 to 80, I like to train in Stairway to the Sky 1. Very common map as well. This one can be quite populated depending on the time of day, but this one is nice because you'll be able to easily clear the map with Starline 3. The fact that you slide down these ramps is quite nice. You can also go up the ramps as well. It's not too bad to move around. Or if you don't like Starline 3, you can jump around with Vortex Cross or Starline 2 as well, so those are still very good options. Again, it's just your personal preference, which one you prefer. And you don't really rely on the trampolines at the bottom to get around, because you have the choice of Vortex Cross to get up, and you also have your amazing double jump as well. Keep in mind that Vortex Cross here at third job you can actually use twice. You see here, if I'm standing on the floor, I can actually use the dash twice upwards. So before you were only able to use it once, but now you can use it twice, and you can also use it twice horizontally now as well. So making it even faster to clear horizontally. Before I talk about my preferred map at level 80, I just wanted to talk quickly about Ice Valley 2. I personally don't think that this is a very good map, but for Jett specifically, I think this map can be alright, just because of how big Starline 3 is, and the fact that it can hit both sides of the platform very easily, going down the ladder. So although Ice Valley 2, not particularly the greatest map, it is a very easy map to train on, so if you prefer an easy map to train on, maybe consider this, but otherwise I think there are better options than Ice Valley 2. At level 80, I like this map, Tent of the Entertainers, mostly because it's a very flat map, so you can actually Vortex Cross train here very easily. All the mobs are pretty much in a line, and you can just keep Vortex Crossing across the entire map. And for the mobs above, you can easily Vortex Cross up here as well, like so. This is a very easy map to train on. You can also use Starline 3 across as well. But of course, Vortex Cross, now that you can use it twice, is much faster to use this. But just keep in mind that Starline 3 may be stronger, depending on your stats. Once you start getting a little bit more levels, you can move up in the desert area. With maps like Sahel 2 and Desert of Serenity. There's very common maps to train on, and these are very easy to train on for Jett as well. Especially for Sahel too, it's very flat, so you can keep using Starline 3 to train here, or Vortex Cross as well. Again, it's the same, you can just go back and forth, and you can clear the map pretty easily with those skills. For Desert Serenity, it's pretty much the same thing as well, it's just another flat small map that you can train here. Vortex Cross or Starline 3 are both good options. At level 95, I like to train at Authorized personnel only. To get there, you need to go onto this map, Area C2, and take the portal that's on the left here. You can actually highlight over it to tell you it's Authorized personnel only. This map, again, is a very flat one as well. You can use Starline 3 to train here. You can also use Vortex Cross if you want. Clear the guys on top of the platform, you can just jump and use Starline 2. Or you can use your Cosmic Upheaval to clear the top platform. Just keep in mind that the hitbox for Cosmic Upheaval is very unreliable, and it prefers to hit behind you than it does in front of you. So just keep that in mind if you do train here. Once you hit level 100, you unlock a bunch of new skills that you can use to train. I'm only going to be focusing on the training skills. So if you want to see the uses of the other skills, you will probably have to wait for the later videos. The main one that we'll be using to train all the way to 275 is Planet Buster. This is the main mobbing skill of Jett. It's one of the best mobbing skills in the game because of how big it is and how many mobs it hits. It also has passive hyper skills that make it even stronger, giving it 20% damage and also an extra line. Not to mention we'll also be later boosting this through our boost nodes. The other mobbing skill that we can sometimes use is Starfall. Starfall is an AoE that isn't really that useful, but you can use it if you like. But for the most part, we'll be using Planet Buster due to its gigantic hitbox and the fact that we can jump while using it. In some cases, we can also use Starfall Salvo. It's primarily used as a bossing skill, but in some cases we can actually use this to train, and I'll show you guys that as well. We also get another skill, Backup Beatdown. It's a key down that lets you move around while hitting things. It's an alright mobbing skill. I think a lot of people like to use this when their character is weak because it's easy to use and you can jump around while using it, but because of its long cooldown, it's not necessarily very good to mob with, but it is an option if you choose to use it. At level 100, it goes without saying that the best place to train is to use Zakum. As soon as you hit level 100, you'll be able to kill it pretty easily thanks to Planet Buster's huge damage, and the fact that it has a really big hitbox makes it easy to hit all the arms. Make sure that when you are killing Zakum, you have as many EXP modifiers as you can get, including runes, coupons, and that sort of stuff, to make the most out of this boss. From levels 100 to 110, you can train here at Dark Rashes on the west border. It's on a few maps left of Leafre, and you can jump around and use Planet Buster and clear pretty easily. You can also use Vortex Cross to get around and train as well, but Planet Buster does pretty good work here. If your character has Star Force, you can train here up to level 110. Dynasty 3 has pretty good platform placement for Planet Buster, so you can jump around and clear this map pretty easily as well. From 110 to 120, Ludibrum has a lot of good maps that you can train on. This is just an example map that you can train on. I'm in Process 1 Zone 3 with the Robos. A lot of the Robo maps kind of look like this and are very easily spaced out. And a lot of the times you can just jump around and use Planet Buster to clear the map. From 120 to 130, I like to train here at Extreme Station 3. Pretty nice map and it always has pretty good burning. And although it's not a flat map like most places that are good to train in, this one just has a lot of spawn, and because of Jett's mobility, it's very easy to get around and mob. In the same level range, an alternative map to train on is Warped Passage, one of the star forcing maps at the bottom of Ludibrum. A lot of people like to go to Forgotten Passage, but Warped Passage is actually better for Jett because of the fact that you can actually hit the top platforms with your Planet Buster while jumping around. You'll have to time it a little bit to clip the top platform, but for the most part, it should be pretty easy to train. For levels 130 to 140, I like to train in Moonlight Ridge. This map is nice and small and compact, so in most cases, Jett has a really easy time to clear the entire map. You can just jump around and clear pretty easily. And I really like this map in particular because the mobs on the top, when they are the blue version, when you kill them they turn into the stone version, and both types give you EXP, so you're basically doing double spawn on the top plat. So if you're only two-shotting, for example, this map will be pretty easy to train on. As an alternative map, you can train here at Cave of Trials 3, where the Banes are. This is a star forcing area, so you do need 55 star force to train here. It's a very long horizontal map, and you can pretty much flash jump and planet buster your entire way down. Let me just show you what it looks like. You might need to jump carefully to get across these gaps, but even if you fall in, Jett has a pretty easy way to jump out. The double jump is good enough to get out on. And after you've done clearing it horizontally, you can take the portal to go back to the beginning, and you can pretty much clear all the way to the right again. From levels 140 to 150, I prefer Red Node's Pirate Den 2. The map is very small, and you can easily triple plat with Planet Buster by jumping around, and overall it's just a very tight and small map that you can jump around and clear everything on. An alternative map at the 140s area is this one right here, B1 Electronics Store 3, at the bottom of Kerning Tower. Not many people really train here because it's a bit of an awkward map because of how high it is, but because of Jett's flash jump, it's quite easy to train. You can double jump to the top and easily just double plat on the way down, and then just do a big old circle as you make your way around the map. You can also use Vortex Cross to move yourself around if you fall in between the gaps, and you'll make short work of this map. And the spawn is quite good as well, so I highly recommend this map. Levels 150 to 160, goes without saying that Colossus West Road 2, where the Mantis are, is a really good map. This is because the platform is low enough for Jett to double jump and just hit it with Planet Buster. So as expected, you can pretty much just double jump and make your way across the map very easily. Doesn't require any special timing to hit the top platform because of Planet Buster's like huge AoE. So leveling here is really simple. An alternative map that you can use is this one, 2F Cafe 4 in Kerning Tower. The first star forcing map you can access, or rather the lower star forcing map that you can access. These mobs require 80 star force and a level 155. Unlike the other maps, this one you can actually triple plat in. And what I mean by that is I can actually clear all 3 plats by jumping around. The easiest way to do this would be to stay in the middle platform, and as you jump around, just land on the platform and use Planet Buster. You can see the bottom of Planet Buster actually clips the bottom of the ground floor. So just by jumping between these platforms here, you can easily clear all the mobs. From level 160 to 170, I really like this particular map, Mutant Tino Forest. Even though you can't really triple plat here because the platforms are pretty well spaced, you can just go around in a circle in this map really easily. And given how much spawn there is for how small it is, this is a really good map to train on. You can easily just jump around the bottom platform, and then you can vortex cross up here, and then continue your way down in a circle like this. If Mutant Tino Forest is starting to get a little slow, you can opt to go to Boswell Field III. Got a bit of an awkward map placement, so I don't expect any competition on this map. But for Jett, you can jump around and Planet Buster just fine. You'll clip the bottom floor and the second platform pretty easily, and with the double jump you can clear the top platform as well. If you really wanted to, you can also leave the turret up here to clear this platform, and then you can just go around and clear the other platforms. Your turret might be a bit weak, so do keep in mind that you might have to go up there and clear it yourself. From 170 to 180, you can pretty much train in any of the maps in Kritias that are within your level range. A lot of these maps have a pretty similar layout, and a lot of them do have burning because there's just so many maps and not many people train here for very long. I'm just in an example map here, Forest of Pain 3, and you can easily jump around and Planet Buster this map. Here's one of the more popular maps that people like to train on, Corrupted Forest 1 in Kritias as well. You can jump around on the bottom here to clear it and then make your way down after taking the portal on the bottom right. And you can just do this on repeat. As you get stronger and level up, you'll be able to just keep going up different maps inside Kritias. They go up in levels if you go counterclockwise from the beginning. So I'm interested in another map that's pretty popular, Corrupted Magic Forest 2. And similarly, you'll be able to double plat here. So with Totem Spawn, this map is very easy to train on. And given Jett's good flash jump, you can easily clear the entire map. So just a final example in Kritias, I've made my way all the way around to the highest level area where these mobs are 186. So you could realistically stay here all the way to 190, just making your way through Kritias. And these guys are pretty well spaced as well, and you can pretty much just buster your way down. In this particular map, Darkness Forest 2, there's a portal here at the bottom. That'll bring you back to the top, and you'll be able to go around. If you want to get out of Kritias at the higher levels, so say about level 180, you can come to this area, Dingy Brawl Bash Club 3, and it's quite similar layout. It's a flat one, so you can jump around and planet buster pretty easily. There's some places that are a little bit higher, so you can double jump and easily hit those. Same on the other side, there's these few platforms up here, but for the most part, you'll be able to just double jump and planet buster your way through the map quite easy. From level 190 to 200, you have some nice maps you can train on. The first one here is Fox Tree Up Path in Fox Valley. This one has got a lot of popularity for good reason. The spawn is very high, and the platforms are really nicely spaced for Jett. Quite similar to the Curting Tower one, when you can stand in the middle platform and hit everything. So all you gotta do for this map is to just jump along this middle platform and use Planet Buster while you're jumping, and then once when you land. An alternative map for 190 to 200 is this one, Fiery Rocky Hills. A bit of a long one, it's very horizontal, and the platforms are quite high from each other, but thanks to Jett's flash jump, you can actually double jump and then clip the top platform. So you can see, for example here, you can actually hit both the ground floor and the top platform at the same time. The platform gets a little bit low on the right side, so it's easy to train here. And also you can easily just vortex cross and jump up and clear these guys if they start to add up. And you can stay here pretty comfortably until 200 as well. And we can't really finish off the training guide without mentioning Fez 2. Fez 2 of course is an amazing map for Jett because of how clumped the mobs are and how many mobs there are. And for Jett, the rotation is very simple. You can stand on this middle platform here and look left, right, and you can clear everything except the bottom platform. And you can jump down and just clear it as well. Once you hit level 200, you gain access to a bunch of new things. Of course, we gain access to the new 5th job skills, get access to boost nodes, and various amounts of new common skills as well. I want to talk about the main skills that you want to try to get access to before you start to train. It goes without saying, you want to try to get Holy Symbol at some point. Holy Symbol just gives you more EXP and more drop rate. Nothing really much to say here. If you're training, Holy Symbol is the way. Another thing, specifically for the pirates, is that you want to be able to get access to loaded dice. So unlike the other pirates, Jett doesn't have its own roll the dice skill. You can see in the 4th job where it usually would be, don't have any, but it still gets access to it in 5th job. And the reason why you want this is because you can actually choose to get the EXP skill. So when you put the loaded dice skill into your V matrix, you get access to 2 new ones. You've got loaded dice and roll the dice. So for loaded dice, when you use it, it opens this menu above your head, and based on which number you put on the keypad, it will give you specific benefit. For the most part, you only really use either 5 or 6. So 5 gives you damage, and 6 gives you EXP. But let's just choose 6, because we're just going to assume that we want to be training, and we have enough damage to give us XP. Then once you use that, you can use the other skill, roll the dice, and it will guarantee roll us that number. With the number 6, we'll be gaining an extra 30% EXP, so you're basically having a holy symbol on top of your holy symbol. So those are the main common skills that you want to try to use if you can while you're training. Now let's move on to the Jett specific 5th jobs, and I'm going to talk about the mobbing ones. The first one, and probably the most important skill for Jett entirely, is Suborbital Strike. The way that this skill works is that you can press it once, and then later on you can press it again to toggle between 2 modes. So when I press it once, summons 4 small robots around me. What these will do is, if there are monsters around, it will try to tag 4 different monsters and do damage to them. It's kind of like a summon that follows you around. If you press it again, you'll toggle it into one big robot. It will target one specific mob, and then do more lines to it. It will also do a little bit of splash damage, but for the most part, it's only used for killing E-mobs or bosses. So whenever you can, when you're training, keep it in the small version. As you improve its level, the duration of this lasts a very long time. At max level, it actually lasts 100 seconds, which gives it a 60% uptime, which is amazing. The second mobbing skill I want to talk about is Gravity Crush. So this one is a 10-second summon that clears everything in a section. You don't often use this to train too much because of the low duration, but if you can put it in, it does help you clear a specific area. So I'm in just an example map here just to show you guys how big the summon is. You can see it clears a very big chunk. It clears actually the bottom platform as well, even though the graphic of it doesn't really look like it stretches to the bottom, but it clears pretty much this entire 3 platforms. Very big AoE. Because of how long the cooldown is for Gravity Crush, I wouldn't recommend putting this if you have limited node spaces, but if you've got the space for it, you might as well, because it is a free summon that clears a side of the map for 10 seconds. So the last mobbing skill is Allied Fury. This one is a low cooldown AoE skill that shoots at a first target in front of you and then a lot of things around it. The skill has a pretty long range, but it is quite inconsistent. I actually could clear the mobs on the right side of the map pretty much off to the side of my screen, so the range is quite big. The only problem is that the way that it hits multiple mobs is quite unreliable. See here, it hit up to the top, but sometimes if I look away in random directions, might not clear very far. You can see the ones far right didn't actually get hit at all, but everything on the left side got hit. This skill is alright, it's very low cooldown and pretty decent damage, so you can use this off cooldown if you can put the node in. Just keep in mind that the skill does prefer to go downwards. You'll probably clear more mobs if you hit something that has a lot of mobs underneath it. Like for example, this right hand side has a lot of mobs on it. But when I use Allied Fury against that, it actually clears pretty much the entire right hand side. So regarding the boost nodes, there's only 3 skills that you need to max out for training. The first one, of course, is Planet Buster. Planet Buster is your main mobbing skill, so boosting this will probably give you the best rates, and it's #1 priority regarding mobbing. The second one is your Falling Stars, which is your turret. The Falling Stars and turret deployment are on the same node, but maxing this out is really nice because it allows your turret to do way more damage, and it actually hits multiple targets, and it can clear sections of the map that you might not be able to. The last boost node we use for training is Vortex Cross. This one is the dash that we'll be using in the second and third job, but we boost this one because unlike the other skills, it gets way more of a boost. You can see here it gets 300% when maxed, compared to the turret which only gets 180, and Planet Buster that only gets 120. The Vortex Cross does get significantly stronger if you boost it. The reason for this one is because it hits more mobs than Planet Buster, and it's very easy to use on the right maps. So those are the skills for the 5th job and the boost nodes, so let's move on to the training maps. From 200 to 205, the map that I would recommend is the Tranquil Erdas on the right side. For example, below the cave and Eastern Cave 2, as expected, these platforms are really nicely placed, so Planet Buster can easily clip both the platforms. On the right hand side, you might have to jump a little bit higher to be able to clip them, but for the most part, you can clear the map pretty easily, and you can just go back and forth. No need to do anything fancy here. Just jump back and forth and hit both the platforms. On levels 205 to 210, Reverse City is probably the best way to go. Hidden Research Train is a crowd favorite. It's another hidden map that requires you to finish the entirety of the Reverse City questline before you can access it. It also has a higher Arcane Force requirement, but the XP you get here is much higher. Jett can just double jump and clear it quite easily. And you can use your Allied Fury off cooldown as well. Make sure when you're training, have your Suborbital Strike on as often as possible, so then they can take on the stragglers that you might not be able to hit. Level 210 to 215, you can train here at Bitty-Bobble Forest 1. Again, Planet Buster can reach the top platforms, so just jumping left and right will be able to clear out. From 215 to 220, hidden Illiard field is probably the way to go. Because of how big Planet Buster is, you can also just left right here in the center. So just by sitting here in the middle, you can just look left, look right, and then use Allied Fury to clear. Once you hit Lachlan, you'll be training here until you can start one-shotting in Arcana. Because of Jett's kind of high damage on a Planet Buster, it can be pretty early, so I won't really put a level range, so it depends on your progression inside the game. I recommend Revelation Place 3 just because it's easy to hit all the platforms on both sides. On the right side here, you can jump and clip the top right, and also on the house you can clear it pretty easily as well. So if you want to jump around, this is a fine map to jump around and clear on. If you wanted to be lazy, you could probably put your turret on the top left over here. It can clear the house for you, and you can pretty much left right on the right side and Allied Fury on the left. And this will clear pretty easily if you wanted lazy training, but it'll probably be easier, better EXP if you just jump around and clear. Some alternative maps in Lachlan include Occupied Dance Floor 1. This one is pretty easy to go around as well thanks to Jett's mobility. You can pretty much clear a lot of the things using Allied Fury and just using Planet Buster, jumping around. Not much of a rotation on this one, but you can just jump around and clear everything. Not too bad at all. The last alternative in Lachlan is Chicken Festival 2. Bit of an unusual map, but Jett is one of the few classes that can double plat here as well, pretty easily. There's no special timing to hit the top platform, so this is not a bad alternative. Although I do believe that the EXP rates here are much worse than some of the other maps that I've shown. So once you hit Arcana, you want to try to move into this area as soon as possible. Depending on your stat, you might be able to start training here as soon as you hit 225. But of course, it's dependent very much on your progression. The first map here we have Forest of Earth. It's a very popular map that has been buffed a few times, and it is one of the easier maps to train on. The only downside about this map is that it's very awkward to loot, so if you are planning to making meso or farming meso while you train, this might not be the most convenient map, but it is definitely a very good training map. You want to put your turret here on the top platform because it's pretty much the only place that your Planet Buster doesn't conveniently reach, and you can go left and right on the bottom floor to clear everything else. Another map that you can train on in Arcana is Between Frost and Thunder 2. This one is not too bad because it has burning a lot of the time and is very easy to train on. Again, it's just a simple double plat setup, and going left and right here is very easy. In terms of EXP rates, it does have similar rates to Forest of Earth, maybe a bit less, but it is easier to loot, so if you are trying to get meso while training, this is probably easier to loot on. And up to your personal preference if you like this map. So starting off with some of the first maps in the bottom of Arcana, we have CLP. CLP has a pretty big reputation of being not a very good map. For good reason, the spawn is quite low, even on Totem. But it is a very lazy place to train, and so if you value being able to not having to focus while training, this is not a bad option, although you will have less XP rates. So what you can do is you can put your turret here at the bottom, and then you can pretty much left right the top platforms, and use your Allied Fury off cooldown. You might not be able to reach the ones on the far left over here, but you can Allied Fury in that direction as well to clip the mobs on the left side. Again, it's not a very good map, but it's very lazy to train on, so if you just don't want to really focus on your training, this is an option that you can have as well. So for the next map, we have Lower Path 1. This one's a pretty common training spot as well. It's very easy to train on, just simple double plat setup as well. You can double jump, Planet Buster pretty much the whole map. If you wanted to, you can put your turret on the top left or something, have it clear up some of the sections so you don't have to jump up there. Yeah, overall pretty okay map to train on, very easy to train on as well. This is the first map that you'll be able to use your Vortex Cross to train. This will only be an option if you're strong enough to one-shot with your Vortex Cross, or if your Vortex Cross is highly boosted. The way that it works here is you just simply Vortex Cross back and forth on the top and bottom, and it brings out pretty good EXP, and it's very easy to do. The only thing is that you will be pressing Vortex Cross a lot, So maybe if you don't like the repeated pressing of a single button, maybe it's not the map for you, but overall it's very easy to train here. Not really much to say. Unfortunately for Morass, there's not that many places that Jett can train in. A lot of the maps are either too big or the platforms are too weirdly spaced for Jett to train, and because we don't really have that many summons to be able to clear parts of the map that we can't reach with Planet Buster, we really do look for maps that we can either use Vortex Cross to train in, or use Planet Buster to train in. So pretty much we'll be skipping Morass in terms of training. You can probably make some maps work, but with a lot of effort. So yeah, for the most part we'll be skipping Morass. For Esfera as well, there's not too many maps that are good to train on. We can only really train on the smaller, more compact maps like MTS2. This map is okay. I didn't train here personally, but if you do want to get familiars early, this is an option for you to train in as well. Not much to say about this one. It's pretty compact. You can go around in a circle and just Planet Buster around. And anywhere that you can't reach, you can just use your Allied Fury. You can put your turret on any of the platforms that you find inconvenient to mob on. For example, the top right or something. But for the most part, because of how small it is, this is a very easy place to train. And it will give you an early start on familiars if you are looking for that. But regarding the Jett training on how long you're spending in Arcana, I would try to stay in Arcana for as long as I could until I could start one-shotting in Celis. The reason for this is because Morass doesn't have that many good training spots, and Esfera only has really one viable training spot for Jett. You could make other maps work, I'm sure, but for the most part, Arcana is the best in terms of both EXP and Meso, until you can get to Celis. Well, the first map in Celis, if you can start training here, is PD4, Plunging Depths 4. I would only start training here if I could one-shot. If I couldn't one-shot these mobs, I would stay in Arcana until I could. The rotation is pretty simple. You can put your turret to clear the bottom platform, and you can pretty much just stay here on this platform and just use Planet Buster to the left and right, and your Allied Fury can clear the top left section. Another Celis map that you can use to train on is SSS1. This one is pretty similar to CLP in terms of the layout. Nice and compact, very easy to train, and the platforms are at good heights. You can pretty much do the similar thing that we did in CLP, where you put down your turret, and you can focus on clearing out these top areas. And to clear the mobs on the bottom as well, you can also use your Allied Fury, keeping in mind that Allied Fury has pretty good downward reach. So when you use it, chances are you'll clear the bottom platform as well. So the next map that we'll talk about is SSS4. This one is a longer version of SSS1. Pretty similar layout. And what you can do is you can actually hit all three of the platforms in this middle area. And what you can do is you can do that double jump to hit the top platform, and then when you land you can hit again to clear the bottom platform. The mob count in this map is not too high. The training here might be a bit slower, but it's very easy to train here, and it's not often contested. Moving on to Moonbridge, it goes without saying that VC3 is one of the best maps to train on. It is very awkwardly placed, but if you stand on the second platform, you can Planet Buster pretty much majority of the map. You'll have to do that thing where you land and then you hit the bottom platform as you jump around. The nice thing about this as well is that whenever you use your Gravity Crush, it pretty much clears the entire side of one part, so you can focus on clearing the other sides. The only parts that is kind of awkward to clear are these platforms at the top, so you can use your turret and have that clip whichever mobs you can. And you'll stay on the second platform and just try your best to clear as many things as you can. An alternative map to VC3 is Last Horizon 2. This one is pretty similar. Your Planet Buster triple plats here as well on the middle platform. So you can actually hit all of the mobs on this middle platform. The only ones that you might not be able to hit are the ones on the top left or top right. In which case you would have your turret, you could put it down to clear it as well. Pretty similar. can just jump around and Planet Buster to clear majority of the map. And of course, Allied Fury on cooldown on places you can't reach. Because Jett relies a lot on Planet Buster, you definitely need places where you can jump around very easily, so open maps are a little bit better, but Labyrinth is full of maps that have a lot of platforms. The only real map that I could suggest is a Deep Core 5, where you can jump around and Planet Buster in a circle. You can go around as such. And you have an easy way of jumping up to clear these middle platforms as well. You can go around in a circle here, pretty easy. But of course, a bit of an awkward map to train on. And the rotation is not as clean as some of the other maps. When you get to Limiter, I highly recommend training in Limiter immediately. The first map I'm showing here are the World Sorrow Depths maps. All three of them are pretty similar layout, where it's just a long line, and you can pretty much just run down and clear all the platforms very easily. Some of them are higher than others, but you can pretty much clear everything just by jumping around using Planet Buster. Not the most ideal map, but this is very easy to train, and these maps tend to have pretty high burning because the other maps in Limiter, which are better, are way more populated. So this next map I'm going to show you is a little bit weird, but I'm just going to give you some more options in Limiter, just because the main maps that you want to train in are always full. Got World Sorrow's Midpoint 2. This one is one of the vertical maps on the left side. This one is almost always 100% burning as well, because nobody goes here. And as awkward as it is, it's actually not a bad place to train. I trained here for a few levels myself, just because the EXP rates were so good. And all it is you can jump down and use your Planet Buster. And then you can make your way back up and keep using Planet Buster on the way up and down. It looks really strange. Rotation's kind of weird. But hey, the EXP rates are very good here. You can use your Gravity Crush to clear pretty much these top two platforms to focus on these. And just stay here and left right, which is kind of nice. And when Gravity Crush is down, you can have your turret clear like 3 or 4 of the platforms by itself, because these mobs are so tall. And yeah, it's pretty much just going up and down. Whenever you use Allied Fury, you definitely want to use it when you're above, because Allied Fury has a better time tracking downwards. You see, I shot the ones above me, but it cleared a lot of the right side down here. So for one of the better maps for Jett to train on, it's definitely End of the World 1.5. 1.5 is a very highly popular map, and for good reason. It's very easy to train on and has decent way to loot, and it's quite easy for Jett to train here. The main problem for 1.5 for Jett is the left side here. There's a good number of spawn here, and you don't really have a way to deal with this, so your main two options are either to use a Lucid Soul and put it here, or you can use your turret to put it here as well. Either way works. As for the main part where you'll be using Planet Buster, you'll be staying on the right side here, and pretty much Planet Buster clears the entirety of this right side by itself. You'll be using your Allied Fury to the left off cooldown to clear any of the ones in the middle. Do keep in mind though, if there are mobs on this platform here, your Allied Fury might just tag these ones and won't go further to the left, so if you want to use your Allied Fury, do make sure that that part is clear, then you can reach the far left side. So for Cernium training, Jett's main priority is to be able to hit as many mobs as it can for each Planet Buster that it uses. So what this means is that we don't rely on a suborbital strike anymore. Although it used to carry us in the earlier levels in Cernium, it just doesn't do enough damage to one-shot on the ticks. Same thing with the turret, it pretty much does negative damage in Cernium, unfortunately. So the main priority is to try to find maps that we can one-shot with our Planet Buster and do as much damage as we can with Allied Fury. The most common training spot, of course, is East Rampart 2, where the Fire Spirits are. This one is a very simple map. The mob count is high, good compact map. It's very easy to jump around and just tag everything. And you can double plat on the bottom here, which makes it really easy. And your flash jump is good enough to kind of get to the top here and then clear everything on the way down. So this one is probably the easiest one, but it is very popular, so you might have some issues trying to find this map. But yeah, that would be the rotation for Fire Spirits 2. Just jumping around and try to hit as many things as you can with Planet Buster. Now personally speaking, I didn't train in burning Cernium very much on Jett, mostly because I went from Cernium straight to Arcus. For burning Cernium, I only really liked this map, just because it was easier to loot. You can double plat the bottom section here, and you can make your way around very easily, and you can double plat top section like this. Not that great of a map. Honestly, I don't really train much in burning at all, so I don't have a very strong opinion on any of the maps. So if you guys do have recommendations for burning, please let me know and I can pin it to the comments down below. Finally, for Arcus, we have some options once you're strong enough to do the final push to 275 and beyond. First one, of course, is Outlaw-Infested Wastes 2. This is the most common map, just because the map layout is very easy to double plat, and also because there's just a very high number of spawn here. So every time you do use Planet Buster, you will be able to hit a lot of mobs. The looting here is terrible. You won't be making very much meso here, but for Jett, it's just very easy to jump around and just hit as many mobs as you can. You'll be using your Gravity Crush pretty much off cooldown. On this left side here, it will kill everything above and below it. And your main focus is just be able to jump around and yeah, double plat as best you can. Once you get a little bit stronger as well, you can start training at Nostalgic Drive in Theater 2. This is where I train all the way to 275. Currently, I'm not in my training hypers, so my Planet Buster won't be one-shotting, but in my training hypers, I would be. And it's pretty similar to Fire Spirits. The layout is almost identical. You have that really top platform on the top left, and then you have this little circular path that you can rotate in a circle down here. And this is where I found I got the best amount of EXP when I was training. And the rotation kind of looks like this. You kind of just jump around in a circle, assuming that you're one-shotting, and you have a pretty good time. Your double jump pretty much lands perfectly on this top platform, so you can make your way around as well. Another option that you can train in is Drive-In Theater 5. This one has really high mob count, and the mobs are very similar, and it has a similar rotation where you can kind of just go around in a circle and clear as many mobs as you can. Keeping in mind that this map has also terrible looting. Platforms are everywhere, but the XP rates here are pretty good as well. So that's the end of the Jett training guide. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and hopefully that helps you train your Jett faster, or at least gives you some ideas on where you can train. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this sort of video, please consider subscribing and giving the video a like. Helps out the other people find this sort of content and lets me know that you want to see more of this. Thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day.